Hi, I'm Levi Chambers with Gaiety and Pride. Hello, Nathan. Hello, Ari. How are you?
Hi, how are
Great.
you?
Doing great. I have very little time with you, so I'm going to jump right in. First questions for Nathan. Dominic's coverage of the Menendez trial really shaped public perception in a profound way. Do you think that
Did
the
it?
media's, I mean, a lot, yeah.
I,
4 minutes.
I
4 minutes.
really?
Four
Everybody
minutes,
keeps saying
Nathan.
this, and I think, really? You could watch it on TV. I didn't need him to tell me, but okay, go ahead.
Do you think the media's portrayal of the brothers influenced their fate ultimately? And what does this case tell you about the broader relationship between press, media, and the judicial system?
Well, you got an hour? Um,
I wish.
I yeah, what was the first part of the question?
Do you think the media's portrayal of the brothers
Oh,
influenced their
affected?
fate?
No. You know what I think affected it? When they bought shotguns and killed their parents. That affected it. That was the biggest effect. And then, as time went on, we found out this was things were very disturbing in that household, and it was not the picture perfect family they appeared to be. But at the time, they looked at this kind of thing very differently than they would now. And, now there's an entire group on TikTok clamoring for them to have another trial and to look at new evidence and a better understanding of abuse. Yeah, I don't think it affected the outcome of the trial for sure. I think there was this initial reaction to it, which was they're two spoiled rich kids playing tennis and and had everything, and they murdered their parents for the money. And then it obviously was a much more complicated story. And we've come to understand that better over these 35 years.
Leslie was a fierce advocate for the Menendez brothers, arguing that their actions were a direct result of just the years of abuse that Nathan was just talking about. When you were preparing for this role, in your research, did you find that her belief in their defense reflected a larger societal failure to understand the effects of trauma on children, on families, especially in high-profile, wealthy families?
I mean, yes to everything you said except the high profile wealthy family part. I mean, she was she often talked about how psychology had not caught up, the law had not caught up with psychology, or vice versa. Like that to understand 35 years ago, our sense of understanding abuse, trauma, the psychological effects of that, we didn't have a shared language about that back then, which we do now in a very different way. We're still building it, but just the response to the show now really speaks to that. Gen Z on TikTok, there's a whole greater understanding about these things that back then were much harder, I think, for her to explain, because people on the jury, people in culture, and so many of the men certainly in the jury on the first trial didn't believe and didn't know. And she was a fierce advocate for them, but she also came up from juvenile courts and being a public defender. She had an entire lifetime of work of seeing the effects of traumatic childhoods and how that results in actions taken later in life and circumstance. Like nothing happens in a void, and I think she saw that throughout her career and always had an innate sense of fairness and justice and children, like what happens with children that are not nurtured. And so when she met the boys, I think she developed a very true and deep relationship with Erik, but that was built upon her years of experience of seeing in some ways the hardest parts of humanity to hold.
Thank you very much. I'm out of time, but I really loved your answer. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.